What's popping, y'all? What an embarrassing day for
Be nasty.
the biggest boss, Rick Ross, who we know for his castle estate and his jet that's wrapped in black and gold because he was caught in commercial. Oh my God. Like, right here, they caught him in that flick. It looks crazy. And the first thing that people started doing was quoting some Drake lyrics off of Whisper My Name, man. Iceman is the gift that keeps on giving. He says, if I'm lying, I'm flying economy. I bet I know who I see. And you see.
It's crazy that we got to the point in society that we're slandering people for flying economy. I just feel like, honestly, bro, maybe the private jet was down. Maybe the private jet needed some gas. Maybe he didn't feel like doing all that, paying all that extra money, bro. You know how much money it is to fly private on your own jet? Do niggas understand how expensive owning a jet is? Like, I just don't understand. Like, Drake can make fun of Rick Ross, but we can't make fun of Rick Ross. There's levels to this.
Rick Ross right there. And this is the funny thing too. He's got the hoodie on. He's got the jacket on. He's doing his best not to be seen. Next time, Rick Ross, you got to pull up with the shiesty. That's the only way you're not going to be seen. And the first thing that people are going to say is, man, what's wrong with him flying commercial? We've seen other rappers fly commercial. No. This is very, very different because Rick Ross's whole brand is luxury. I don't do that poor people stuff except for when he LARPs a little bit, like when he went out in his backyard and he's like, oh, I'm gonna knock down my tree, or I got myself a what was it, a bull or cattle? He got himself cattle because somehow you could do some sort of write-off on land if you own cattle. Listen, I don't know. I don't got land. I don't got a crib.
That's the whole point. You don't have land. You don't have a crib. You don't have a jet. You don't have none of this. So you can't judge Rick Ross. The only person that can judge Rick Ross is Drake. Because Drake is rich as hell. But like, just because he was flying commercial doesn't mean he was flying in economy. Then he could be flying first class. You don't know what he doing.
Yeah, I'm out here thugging it out. Not paying rent either. Yes, mama's crib. Why would I pay rent to a stranger when I can just live off of mama for free? And free food. That's another thing.
He's a grown man.
Ross, he is, especially his brand and his lyrics. When I hear Rick Ross, there is no circumstance where I imagine anything to do with commercial or economy. At that, did y'all catch him in first class or was he in economy? That's a different story. But for example, like a J. Cole is arguably music-wise richer than Rick Ross. But we see J. Cole riding his bicycle. That you listen to J. Cole music, and if you see him in a private jet, you're like, what the hell? Get back in that 1999 Honda that's supposed to break down. That's the best you're supposed to do. But Rick Ross would reply.
For the ones who want to know where my jet at, I obviously didn't get the memo. It's being updated with Starlink. You know what Starlink is? Yeah, that's the $500,000 Wi-Fi. Yeah, that's where my jet at. And I chose to fly commercial to Colombia to go party with Trick Daddy and Ball Greasy at the Escape the States vibe. And that was a hell of a vibe. I had an amazing time. When I was leaving, that hoodie was low. Rose did it big. The boat. And y'all better stop worrying about what Rich doing. If I send my jet to go pick my mama up and I fly, mother commercial, that's what I do for mama. If I send a jet to go drop off, I walk for mama. Just so I miss that.
And you can't tell him that he lying either. That's the craziest part about all this because none of us have a jet. So we can Rick Ross is flying commercial. Was you flying commercial to Colombia to go party and then come back and, you know what I'm saying, catch a vibe while your jet's getting hooked up with Starlink? I don't think so. So it's like, you know, people need to learn how to SCFU because every time you say something, it doesn't mean that you're right. You're not Rick Ross. You're not rich. Rick Ross has been an inspiration for niggas for a long, long time. And I rock with Drake too. But I'm not gonna let Drake, just because he dissing Rick Ross, let the whole world think that Rick Ross isn't the motivation. Have y'all, bro, I forgot the name of the song. I think it was Drug Dealer's Dream. The intro to that song is literally like inspiration. It's a Negro spiritual. And I refuse to let anybody slander Rick Ross for being broke. If he was like his broke is not your broke. If Rick Ross' version of broke is still having all his cars, having his estate, doing whatever he wants, and just flying first class instead of doing a PJ, what, like, that's your version of broke? I would gladly take that version of broke.
So y'all laughing at the young too on Martyr? You can't do that. Damn sure you can't laugh at a rich nigga. Y'all better stay focused. And since it's a big deal for Rose to fly commercial, sometimes I might have to buy me a wing at the Atlanta airport. I'll buy the whole C wing.
This is Cope right here. But this is how you know Rick Ross is a crazy salesman, because he's promoting Trick Daddy's event in the midst of this. He's like, yeah, you know, I had to go to Colombia for this event. Name drops the event, name drops the person that invited him to go there. He's like, yo, I want to go hang out with him. What's stopping you from taking a jet? What's stopping you from chartering a short flight? Hell, he would have been better off getting a speedboat and going over there than being caught in commercial. And you can tell he was trying not to get caught. If he
It's not okay. You know, Rick Ross is a celebrity, right? Why would Rick Ross want to get caught in the airport? It's not because they're gonna think he's broke. It's because I don't want to sign autographs. I don't want to have any problems. I don't want to run into paparazzi. Like, he's famous. He's a celebrity. He has a name. You don't know who he's into it with, who he's dealing with, what's going on. Why would I just want to be in, like, that doesn't make sense, bro. That doesn't make sense to me. People be saying the stupidest shit. He'd be like, I didn't want to get caught because he's broke. He didn't want to get caught. He's a celebrity, bro. Like, what? You think he's the only celebrity? You think he's the only celeb to fly first class? You're stupid.
He was just coming in with the energy like how he usually would. Like, why don't you got your ice on? Why don't you got your chains out like you do right here? Well, that's because he would have gotten recognized in the airport. And he didn't want to be recognized. So that's violation. That's strike number 2. Strike number 1 is making it seem your brand. You own your own jet, right? Even your man's Patrick Bet-David that he recently did an interview with, we don't even see that guy in commercial. So we see you in commercial. It's your brand to be rich. You talk about how much you got a jet. You talk about money this, money that, although we don't really know how Rick Ross has the level of wealth that he has. We know Birdman, who he doesn't like. We know how Birdman is rich. Okay, Drake, Nicki Minaj, Lil Wayne, Tyga in his prime, alleged.
You mean, so you're trying to say this is why you can't take Caucasian opinions, because you're trying to say you don't understand how Rick Ross is rich. Like, he didn't sign Meek Mill in his prime. Like, he didn't have Wale in his prime. Like, he didn't have Double MG, Maybach Music Group in his prime. He signed to all types of people, bro. On top of that, Rick Ross has a very successful catalog. I got all this money, I don't want to spend it on her. Here I am. That song alone. This is why you can't take Caucasian opinions, because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Even with Drake saying you got a Miami starter pack mansion. So you're telling me Rick Ross has a big ass estate outside of Atlanta and he has $1 million crib in Miami, and that's an L? Like, niggas just be saying the stupidest shit, bro. Like I said, the only person that can make fun of him is Drake, because it's Drake. You can't make fun of him.
Allegedly stealing and never paying anybody. One of the biggest Universal deals ever. Now managing Young Boy after they gave him to him at Atlantic. So we understand, okay, it makes sense Birdman's rich, but how is Rick Ross nearly as rich as Birdman in terms of what we see, right? Like the jets and
very simple
homes, living in the same zip code, stuff like that. Strike 2 is getting caught commercial after you tried to hide, because Rick Ross is a flexing type of guy. And then you don't just own it. Like, he should have just owned it when he was in the airport. Like, yeah, you know, I'm here commercial. He shouldn't have been scared to be caught. So strike 2 is being scared. And you're probably wondering, what's strike 3? Is this guy going to have to walk off the pitch or walk off the field? I'm thinking pitch. What is this, soccer, football? Well, strike 3 is him talking about, like, yo, why are y'all so, looking at me flying commercial? Well, you were looking at Drake. You were jet watching. This guy was trying to go jet for jet with Drake last year.
Y'all need to pray for Drake.
But he still has a jet, though. That's what niggas ain't understanding. He still has a jet. What the fuck? I don't understand, bro. This is a very Caucasian opinion. You know what I'm saying? All respect to the creator. I'm just being honest. Like, very, very Caucasian, very perpetrating. It doesn't really make sense, bro. Drake and Rick Ross can go throw shots for shots and go back and forth for each other. You, my brother, cannot do that.